Brightwave. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be talking about innovations in the inbox and kind of the next frontier for the inbox, and specifically talking about interactive email, which is a subject that's very near and dear to me. Brightwave is an email marketing company, and I'm the creative director there, so I look at emails all day long and think about innovation in email all day. So first of all, I'm just going to talk quickly about kind of my perspective about interactivity in the inbox and give you a couple of examples of what we're doing. And then I'd like to bring up some very smart thinkers and tinkerers in this space who are all doing really awesome and amazing things. And they're going to give you just a quick introduction to themselves and their work really quickly. And then we are going to set up here and have a little chat. And I'm hoping that at the end we'll have about 10 minutes to do some questions so we can kind of open it up for everybody. So, let's see if I can do this. Maybe. Whoa. So, again, I work at Brightwave, and so shameless plug for 1 second, we also do our own conference, and we talk all about innovation in the inbox. It's called EIQ, and it is in hot Atlanta in April, which is a lovely time to visit Atlanta. I highly recommend it. So just wanted to let you know that that's also happening, and we like to be kind of thought leaders in the space. So, if I can do this. I kind of want to start from the ground level in the most basic way about what interactive email is. And this here is not my work, but it is the first interactive email that I ever received in my inbox and saw with my own eyes. This is a British agency. And what I'm showing you is a lot of different screen captures of interactions happening in the actual inbox, because I can't really show it to you, so I just kind of create videos of interactions in the inbox. And in this case, you can click on the different flavors at the bottom, these little buttons, and this cup fills up with different types of smoothies. So for me, this was amazing. This was kind of a shot heard around the email world, saying like, wow, we can actually do things in the inbox we didn't think we could do. So of course, if you go to a website and you hover over a menu and it pops out, yeah, who cares? Big whoop-de-doo. But for that to happen in the inbox is pretty amazing. So at Brightwave, we started playing around and thinking, what can we do? We started doing different proof of concepts and playing around with our developers and with our designers to think about what can we do with interactivity in the inbox. And this is just an example of a hover over state, where it's like, here's a present, how can we pique their curiosity, pique their interest by letting them shake the present to try to get them to click through to the other side. And now I see interactivity in the inbox really all the time. This is an email from Forever 21 that I got, or not Forever 21, yeah, Forever 21 that I got last year, where you're allowing people to browse through different categories with a carousel. So really, this is kind of something awesome. This is a holy shit moment for email, where we can do things that we could never do before. And so thinking about all of those different possibilities, it's kind of what I do all the time. So you can do things like, wow, when you mouse over a CTA button, it could change colors, just to get people's attention. You could have flyouts or hotspots on a product image for e-commerce. So you're giving people another layer of information, letting them go deeper if they want product information, color information, prices, things like that. You can even do things like inbox shopping, simple inbox shopping, where you're allowing people to select a color, select a size, and then go deeper with a link whenever they get through to the website. And there's also a lot more happening, which we're all going to talk about today. Things like contextual changes. So based on the score of a game, or the time of day, or even live streaming that's happening, we can bring all of that into the inbox to have a more live and contextual experience. And that's pretty dang awesome. But what we've discovered at Brightwave is that you can't just do cool things to do cool things. They have to be relevant, they have to have a purpose, and they have to be meaningful for the person on the other end. And so I think what you're going to hear about today is a lot of cool examples of that. I just want to give you one example of some cool stuff we're doing at Brightwave. with interactivity, one of the things we're doing is collecting people's preferences right in the inbox. So instead of taking people to an annoying website where you have to put in your preferences and collect data and it seems like work and a pain, we can instead just ask them in a visual way, hey, what are you interested in? And let them click or unclick on information in the inbox. So that's a pretty cool way to use interactivity. That's pretty relevant. That's pretty purposeful. And I know a lot of people may be saying like, whoa, huh? How in the heck can you actually do that? So what we do is use media queries, we use tracking pixels to see where people are clicking, and then we can track it back on an individual level. We can track when they click and when they unclick, if they change their mind. And we can actually collect that information. The kinetic design, that's just for user feedback. That's for the user's benefit, so they can know, like, hey, they're paying attention, I clicked on something. So you could have a landing page, or you could not have a landing page. But just one example of how we can use interactive design in a really purposeful and meaningful way. So these are just a couple of examples. Mizuno is a sports company, and different types of runners have different preferences. So we asked them, like, hey, what kind of runner are you? And then based on their answers to that, their next product email might be completely different. Another quick example. We might ask them something as simple as, hey, do you shop for men or do you shop for women? Then their next product email would be completely different based on their answer to that. So that's just one example of how we're using interactivity in the inbox. All of my esteemed panelists are also doing some pretty awesome, mind-blowing stuff, so I want to give them the opportunity to talk about that. And first up, we have the lovely Seth Weisfeld from Pinterest.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Oh, hey, that's useful. How's everybody doing? Good? Yes. All right. Okay, so how many people know what Pinterest is? Raise your hand. Great. So how many of you think that Pinterest is a social network? Ooh, so few of you. Yeah, marketing must be doing its job. Okay, so Pinterest is not a social network. Pinterest is a place to find inspiring ideas for your everyday life. We've got stuff from recipes for somebody who needs to cook for a kid with special food dietary restrictions. I just was looking at a guy's boards. He collects a bunch of different ideas for DIY projects using guns. He's got this amazing board where it's all coffee tables made out of guns. Like, this is not your standard idea of a Pinterest user, but this is what it's for, right? Designing your life, taking ideas and finding really personal connections for you. So when we think about email, we want it to be really personal. We want to extend that experience into the inbox. And so when I think about interactivity, it's not just the surface of what the interaction looks like, it's how we use all this personalized data to give you that personalized content and deliver it to you on a daily basis. So the flow roughly starts like this. People do a bunch of different stuff on Pinterest. There's a lot of surfaces, a lot of interactions. We collect all this data. And then we're going to put that into machine learning algorithms. They're going to take everything we know about you to customize the content, the frequency, and the types of emails that you get, which is the step there. And then we're going to decide where we send it. It might be an in-product notification, a push notification, a browser notification, of course an email, we'll talk a lot about email today, or even an SMS. People are going to get that. And then that's going to create a fantastic feedback loop where we take all those interactions, they're going to go back into how we decide what notifications we send, and then they're also going to feed back into our core of what you see in the product. And it's all a connected experience where notifications are not divorced from your product experience. And this is our focus and where we want to continue to take email over the next few years. It's super exciting. And what I can tell you is that in the 2 years I've been at Pinterest, we've seen a massive revolution in the impact of notifications on our ecosystem. I can't share the exact numbers, but we're up hundreds of % driving daily visitation from users. So if you take the time to segment your users, customize the experience, it's worth the effort. So we've got all these different things we can recommend, and all these ways we can recommend them. And we slice that all up. You might have like a personal set of pins or a really diverse set of boards to recommend to you, or just the popular topics because we don't know much about you. We end up with dozens and dozens of different notification types. This is kind of what they look like today. Like, these are all things I actually got. I have a board that's plating, and it's really, really specific to that board, right? Highly, highly personal. I also have some searches I did for Richard Serra. There's a new, now it's a little old, but the new MoMA opened in San Francisco. They have this amazing Serra installation. And I was searching and looking at the pictures with my kid, because he runs around, he calls it eyes. It's amazing. And then I've got just more general ideas, home decor, just kind of sharing some general recommendations for me about what's popular, or even a really diverse set of pins. So I have all of these options and literally dozens and dozens of more that I can send to someone. We have to decide what we're going to send. And that's where the machine learning comes in and really personalizes that experience. So during the panel, we can talk more about how we use data to really make the whole experience of getting, receiving, and responding to emails a really interactive experience. But this panel is also about what does the email look like. So we're starting to do pilots with truly interactive email. So this is what our emails look like now. Look like the end product experience, but there's no interactivity. You tap on a pin, it's going to take you to the close-up, and from there you can do things once you're on the website. But if we look at our pin grid on the site, we have these nice buttons. It's interactive. You can do things from the object in the grid. So we're going to take this experience, we're going to bring it into email. So now you start mousing over, the save button's going to show up, interactive buttons are going to show up. You can't see there's a nice gray border on this. But it's really exciting. Again, taking the experience of not just the data, but the actual interactions from the product into the inbox. And with that, I will pass it off to my friend at eBay. Whitney, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney Horsey-Sherin. I work at eBay in email marketing. And I'm going to share a little bit with you, just an intro of the journey that we've been on and where we're headed. Oops. So 3 years ago, this is a version of what our email looked like. Super business focused, very much about verticals of interest. Because it basically represented the way eBay is organized. So we have merchants who work in the fashion department, or who work in the technology department, and we would send out emails to support those teams. Most people, if you're interested in that vertical, would get the same email. Today, it looks super different. So we've done a lot of work to personalize emails so that you're getting content relevant to the behavior that you've exhibited on the site, what you've clicked on, what you shop for. You may get a customized event from a specific region. You may get a specific deal depending on your behavior. We've done a couple of things this year that I'm super proud of. One of them is things like delivering an open rate model. So now we determine whether or not you're likely to open the email, and if you're likely to open it, you'll get more email. If you're not likely to open it, you'll get less email. And so we've seen a big increase in our open rate and our click-through rate while we're declining in the actual emails that we're sending out. So some really novel things in trying to optimize the inbox for our customers without overwhelming them. We've also done some cool things with interactivity. I don't have the examples up here to show you, but in eBay, what we see is a lot of customers come to the site and they go straight to the search bar. Some huge portion of people are looking for something specific and they go right into the search field. We've brought that search bar into email this year and have seen some great uplift of people actually just searching right in the email and then going to the search results page from email, which is a cool example of interactivity. We've also done a lot of design work, things like you'll see blowing bubbles in the email, similar to the Pret cup that we saw at the beginning. Just things to pique your interest from a design point of view. And our objective going forward in the next 3 years is really to develop a machine learning model. We're calling it Darwin. And it's meant to inspire, convert, and help our customers. So right now we're very focused, frankly, on trying to drive incremental purchases. What we want to get to is a model that helps us drive a longer-term value out of our customers instead of just trying to get the one next purchase. So understanding when a customer may actually need inspiration versus when they actually need help and customer service contact details instead of an email about something that they may be shopping for. So that's the direction we're headed in, very machine learning. When I think of interactivity, it's part of the black box of the content that we're developing. So what's the right content for you and how are we gonna present it to you? For you, it may be around making it interactive, making it into a quiz. For you, it may not be that. It may just be a flat email. And how do we balance the right content in the right frame in your inbox so it works for you? So that's the path we're headed on. Happy to answer more questions in the panel. Thanks. And now I'll introduce you to Joe, who started us on the interactive email journey last year.
Hi, everyone. I've never seen so many email geeks in one room. Good to be here. We're pulling up the deck here, and I'm a Google Slides guy. I don't know if anyone else is on that boat. It's strong. Google Slides. You got some Google over here, Eric? Okay, so I'm Joe. I'm the founder of formerly Rebel Mail, now Rebel. We dropped the mail, very like Facebook, the Facebook. I just wanted to talk to you quickly about my journey in starting the company and where we hope to see email and interactivity going. So this is an email that I got in my inbox yesterday. And it's from a nonprofit. And this is the first newsletter I ever started and my first time ever interacting with email, let alone interactive email. I was in school, so this is my first job. And I had an idea to start a way to make giving charity a daily habit. And I got 10 friends to sign up to give 25 cents a day. And every morning I sent out an email. And in the email you learned about one cause and had a choice of 2 charities to give your money to. And you clicked the donate button under one of them. I literally tracked how many people clicked each side and then wrote a check at the end of the day. And it was super fun. The list grew from 10 friends to hundreds of friends. All you had to do was click, and then it took you to a thank you page. Keep up the good work. And now the website is called Good Street. If you want to subscribe, that's my quick plug. And we're now giving over $150,000 to different charities in quarters. And for me, this was the biggest thing I had ever built. And on top of that, I was obsessed with our analytics. So my dad's a UX designer, and I knew like basic Photoshop and Illustrator. And 50% of people open this email every day, and 45% click. And I didn't know email that well, but I saw our little MailChimp. It had the industry average indicator was like 4% click-through, and I knew we were onto something. And I started asking our subscribers, like, why do you click on this email every day? And I thought it was because of the charity, or they were my friends and they felt bad for me. And that was part of it. But actually what we saw is that everyone told me, I love that I don't have to log in with my password. I don't have to put in a credit card. I don't have to download an app or go to a dashboard. I just get an email and I get to click. And that's when I started thinking, why are more people not harnessing email almost as an interface? This was a choice mechanism in email. And I stumbled upon it, if I'm being honest, and started asking these questions, why is email not interactive? And long story short, there are a lot of reasons. There's no JavaScript in email. There's no standards in email. But set out to build Rebel, and fast forward, we are now a company that powers, for developers or marketers, a way to build interactive emails and connect them to your application on the fly, to turn email into an extension of whatever you're doing on the web. So this is just some examples of what we do and where we sit in the stack. So you send emails. Just being interactive isn't enough. Those actions actually have to trigger things in your application. So I'll show you some examples, but if you're sending an email that allows someone to shop in the inbox, that actually has to place the order on your commerce system. If you're sending someone a quiz in an email, those results have to flow into your Google Analytics or your CRM in real time. And that's kind of where we sit on the stack. This is an example of Casper using us to capture reviews in email. So you can see inside of the email, instead of having to go to a website to leave a review, you can actually tap on your stores, fill out how you feel about the product, submit the form, and that goes straight into your reviews database. As you can imagine, a lot more people leave reviews if you can do it in the email. This is a really fun example. I never thought we'd be doing this. This is Tinder in email for Match.com. So you get an email, it has a bunch of matches for you. You can go ahead and tap yes or no, and in real time, it hits a webhook on their system to let them know who you're interested in and who you aren't. It's a real way to extend the application into email. This is something that I haven't allowed access to Google Slides to show you. This is for eBay. This is a quiz, progressive profiling. And so you're actually able to ask customers pertinent information. How many kids do you have? Where do you live? What's your idea of a deal? and that flows right into your CRM. And then, of course, shopping in email. And this is our newest product. And we're able to actually, within the email, securely pull in payment information and shipping address to allow users to check off the card they want to use, choose their shipping address, confirm products, press purchase, and then place that order securely on your commerce system in one click. And that's us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I would love for my esteemed panelists to take a seat. We're just going to have some quick discussion here, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions from the audience. So you guys just showed a lot of awesome, mind-blowing things that can be done in the inbox. But I know a lot of people in the audience are thinking, like, how can I do that? That sounds really hard. So the big question is how? How can I do that? Do you have any advice for this audience about how they can start getting more interactive and more personalized in the inbox? Go for it. Oh, I thought we were done with the technical difficulties. I told them all we were finished with it, so they would
Hello?
come up here.
There we go.
Yes.
So we all spoke about different forms of interactivity, like personalization and big data. We could talk about that, but when it comes to true interactivity and connecting, interactive experiences on the front end and the back end, there's, it's a hard thing to approach. As you know, you have teams working on it. My approach is obviously going to be a plug. Just we do this. We have an API. If you're a developer and you want to build interactive emails, you don't have to write a line of HTML. You make a request that has the pieces of interactivity you want. We generate it. And if you're a marketer, you can drag and drop together an interactive experience and not have to worry about all the quirks of the email clients, and then choose where you want to connect it on your website.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, not even beyond Rebel, there are lots of really cool third-party tools out there. Things like Movable Ink and other places where you can get some help from other tools. So. Seth?
Yeah, I'll also add that there are a variety of conferences that can be helpful. Litmus holds a conference, Litmus Live I've learned a lot at. Brightwave holds a conference, that's pretty good. But also the hover effects, that's a really simple thing to code actually. Depending on how complex you want to get with it, it can get really hard. But it's literally you take a CSS element, you add :hover to it, and you can change the CSS. So some of this stuff is really not technically challenging. You want to connect it to an API backend, you want that data to hit your servers, incremental complexity becomes harder. But there's very basic stuff that you can do that's not hard. If you're coding HTML, you can do these things. And then I'd add on the data front, yes, I have machine learning engineers and that's super great, and most people can't have them. I didn't have them until I worked at Pinterest. But segment your list based on openers. Segment it based on the things that people are clicking on. If you're a retailer and somebody only clicks on handbags, maybe think about segmenting a list and having a group for handbag responders. Things like that, you can personalize even without all of these tools and technologies.
Yeah, and I would say our goal is to try to drive personalization at scale. And for us to do that, what that means is we've developed flagship programs, what we call flagship programs with templates. So we have a variety of different templates, but they're standardized. And then we have a whole lot of people who make content that fit into the standardized versions of the templates. And there are different versions of the templates, but there's a handful of them so that we can automatically pull the right content for a user into the template. So that's the way that we can personalize at scale and still deliver 100 million emails a day around the world.
Great, thanks.
One more.
Oh, yeah.
Which is that also, the other thing is find people to work with. So we actually work really closely with eBay and a couple of other companies, and we share what we're doing, the challenges we run into. We're able to drive these things forward, collaborate together. So find the people that you can work with to collaborate together, that are at your scale, that are doing similar things, solve these problems together.
Awesome. There's a lot of great collective knowledge on this stage. So just want to toss the question out to you guys. Really, what are the best practices when creating interactive, personalized, innovative emails? What are those things that you've learned the hard way? Best practices to share with everybody.
So my first and foremost best practice is that you got to be prepared if you're going to move away from controlling your content, that weird things are going to happen. and that's the price of innovation and moving forward. We have had some major mistakes happen as we moved away from human-curated campaigns, which is where we were 2.5 years ago, to algorithmic campaigns. We have had heartbreaking mistakes. We have had embarrassing mistakes. But you have to move forward with that and know that there are opportunities to continue to get better, improve your programs, improve your targeting. I think that's probably the main thing is like, be okay. Like, most of the mistakes, you're not doing brain surgery, you didn't kill anyone, so.
I agree. So all of that is totally relevant to eBay. I would say when it comes specifically to interactivity, one of the things that I've been thinking about is when is it the right time to keep the action in the email versus when do we really want the user on site or in the app or whatever it is. And so making sure that we're setting up the interactivity when it's okay to be in the phase where we're engaging the user as opposed to in the phase where really the objective of it is to convert a user. We don't want to send them an interactive email because it's cool and it's fun if that means fewer of them are going to get to the site and complete that purchase.
Anything to add to that, Jeff?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I love just reminding myself that this is just email. I know we're at a conference, but sometimes we go through the same thing. You send out an email. One of the things about email is once you send it, it's done, right? And so there's not much you can take back. But knowing that we didn't actually hurt anyone in some cases is really important. On the best practices side, it's similar to what you were talking about, Whitney. I know we obviously work together, so we're all thinking about this together. But when email becomes interactive, and we're specifically talking about the front end here, there's certain actions you can take in the inbox, and it has to change the way you think about what's possible. And so, in some cases, you send an email where someone can leave a review in an email. There's going to be less click-through on that email, but a great deal more reviews because you're allowing them to take that exactly in the email. And so you have to be thoughtful about what was our goal in the first place. A lot of the marketers we work with, they're like, what about my click-through? But it never was click-through. The goal is to get drive results for your business.
Right, and so are there other metrics that you look at in that case? How do you judge yourself in that case?
So we mainly look at the actual action that you're trying to drive. So in Match.com, it's actually really interesting. When we first started speaking with them, it's, hey, we just invested so much money in our new app. Why are we now having people take actions in the inbox? And if all things were equal, that's a good question, right? Why would you have people not go to your app? But it's not, right? More people are going to take the actions if you can allow them to do it in the inbox. Actually, a great deal more. And so if we can make sure that you're driving the right users to your app, and the users that can take the actions in the email, they'll do that. And so whether it's a review or a purchase or a quiz, you have to see what is the result I'm trying to drive, and can they take that on my website, or maybe I can allow them to do that in email. I'll tell you, we're not going to be doing 3D gaming in email for a while. So.
Oh, come on.
You can play whack-a-mole, though.
Yes.
Mark Robbins, shout out.
So one really cool thing that's happening that I kind of alluded to earlier is the idea of real-time content. So the idea that, I'm going to send an email out, but if you open it at 10 a.m., you're going to see a biscuit, and if you open it at 1 o'clock at lunchtime, you're going to see a salad. Or even as a game is played out, the score is going to change. So you guys have any experience with real-time content and emails, and what's the really awesome stuff that's going on there?
Yeah, in eBay, that's something that's really important to us. So now our platform and really the vast majority of our emails are open time generated. And the reason that it's so important at eBay, if you think about it, is because a lot of the things that we have are auctions, and the auctions can end. And we don't want you to be super disappointed because we send you an email featuring an item and then the auction is ended or the item is sold out. And so the real-time nature of the content, and specifically in this case, a lot of the items, is really important for us.
Awesome. Do you have something to add?
When we speak about real time, I don't know if Seth knows it, I always speak about his team as the epitome of what it means. When we're speaking with prospective customers or actual customers, there's personalization that's taking place at scale without any external tools. He's built a remarkable team, I think 14 full-time engineers that are on top of this dirt cheap email delivery layer, right? So you can get email selling for so cheap now and bring your personalization in-house. And that's a remarkable thing we're seeing from a lot of technology companies, Pinterest, LinkedIn, et cetera. I know eBay as well. And so that's what we're seeing a lot of, and I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm curious to know, this all sounds really cool, but there are also some real limitations with interactivity in email. I know we all love to hate Outlook, and there's a good reason. Something that we like to think about a lot at Brightwave is, the idea of graceful degradation and like designing for every inbox. And so obviously with a lot of these really cool things, we are going to be limited by that. What are the limitations in your mind of interactivity, and how do you deal with those?
So for us, actually, we didn't really start looking deeply at interactivity until Gmail added more robust support this summer for CSS, because I think one of the most important things you have to do before you start down this path is look at who's opening your emails and where they're opening it. So there are a variety of different analytics tools you can use. If you're using Litmus, they've got analytics pixel you can add, and you can see where people are opening your emails. So I know for us, less than 1% of people open them in Outlook. And so I can have a bare minimum graceful degradation. It's important that it's not broken, but it really, it's a rough experience if you're opening this thing in Outlook. And that's okay. It's a small enough of an audience. But Gmail is a very large percentage of the audience, and if Gmail can't support it, it doesn't make sense for us to do it. As amazing as it could be in Apple Mail, I can tell you some of the things these guys have shown me of what you can do in Apple Mail is amazing, but Apple Mail alone isn't enough. So know your clients and decide what works for you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, I would say know your clients, decide what works for you, and spend time on the fallback version if you decide to do it anyway, because that's I think we decided to take some leaps at the end of last year and the start of this year, and saw that 50% of the emails that we were, really excited about the interactive design weren't being received as interactive. So pay attention to what the graceful degradation version looks like, so that you're still happy with it and the customers still get an exciting email in their inbox.
That also goes back to your personalization, though, about who gets interactive and not. Are you at the place where you're actually looking to fork that yet, or?
Not yet, but we're going there. We're going there.
Because then you don't even have to worry about graceful degradation, right? You just make a great one, and you make a fine one for everyone else.
That's true.
Certainly, and I agreed with all those points. I think the other thing that you're starting to see, and there's a lot of efforts behind the scenes for this, is that the reason that there's more CSS support is actually the email community at large, pushing for some of this stuff. Yeah. We've actually seen a lot of success, and some of the people in the room have helped us on this with evangelizing why we think this is important. Interestingly enough, Mark, who I mentioned on our team, is a big evangelist internally as well for this in the email world at large. Accessibility is also an issue, a tremendous issue in email, right? And so Outlook, not only does it not support interactivity, but it also does, you have text in tables. And if you've ever had someone who's visually impaired using a screen reader on Outlook, it's reading random sentences at different times, and it's really an awful experience. And so we've been able to use accessibility, and we're trying to move things forward there, and it's also actually bringing more CSS support for what we're trying to accomplish here. And so hopefully we can do this for, to make the world a better place, actually.
That's just lovely. That's lovely. So I kind of also would like to ask you guys, this is all kind of the future is now, mind-blowing stuff that we're talking about. But I'm really curious about what you think is next, and what's happening next for interactivity. I think, if we've been in the email space for a while, you could see that in the last few years, things have changed so dramatically. What's going to happen in 2 years from now?
My bet is that the providers also start adding more, both more support, but more intelligence on what people see and how they see it. You see things like the Gmail inbox project. I think that's going to really change. Ultimately, email is a way to convey information from one point to another, and how it's represented is something you may not have control over. I think that's going to be really interesting as we continue to evolve, particularly in a mobile space. What does it mean when maybe you do all this effort to have an interactive email, and Gmail is going to summarize that the flight takes off at 10 a.m. So I think it's going to be really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I think also one thing that you guys are doing really well is really the move into notifications and a lot of the shopping and activity happening on the apps, and instead of paying attention to email, it's SMS, notifications, or bots, chat bots, or help bots, or whatever the situation is. So there's definitely the question about what's the next wave, and is it outside of the inbox? Probably.
Yeah, push took over email this summer as a larger traffic driver, which was really interesting. And it's a really similar experience to what's in an email, but it comes via the push notification.
Yeah. So good job on the rebranding, Joe.
Anything to add to that in terms of the future?
Certainly agree. And with the stuff, it's not necessarily what the content is going to look like, but actually the way it's being sorted. I know when the tabs came out, that was like an uproar, and it turns out it actually had less of an impact than people thought. But I think that the intelligence that's going to come is going to bring the same thing. You're going to be seeing more of the emails that you actually want to be seeing. On the front end, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more support, and I see the line between notifications and email being blurred, and I think that's what you're seeing with interactivity. So I don't know if everyone saw in the new iOS announcement, there's these streaming apps now. So you actually don't have to download an app. You can actually press a link and stream the app experience, and you do it 3 times, and then they prompt you to download the app. That's really how we see interactive email as well. And so you're pushing an app to a user, and it happens to be that email is the original push. But that's where technically things are going. Users are used to now streaming an app on every other device they have. Email can be that, and apps can be streamed as well.
Ooh, I'll add one
Awesome.
more point.
Yes.
Which is all of this fancy stuff is going to be accessible for everyone. So you see MailChimp release their Brain product, and more ESPs are rolling out this machine learning where it will be available to everyone on a kind of individual basis on a consumer grade. So that's going to really change things.
Awesome. Power to the people. So we have a few minutes left, and I would love to open the floor up for any questions. I believe Felix is going to walk around with some mics.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for a great panel. So I'm a classic consumer who likes to keep my professional emails and marketing emails completely separate. I have a dedicated email where all promotional emails go. And as a result of that, I've come to a point where there are days when I don't open that email because it's flooded with emails from different kinds of businesses. So from a business standpoint of view, what is your strategy for a consumer like me? Because I'm probably missing out on some good content from you guys, and you as a business are not getting my, my money as a consumer. So what is your strategy in tackling a consumer like me?
Okay. Yeah, so I think I face the same challenge. I totally get what you're saying, and I think it's something that we think about in the marketing team quite a bit. And so when I talked before about the open rate model that we introduced this year, trying to identify the users who are most likely to open, one of the things that we built into that model is the idea that we would have, I think we have 2 days a week that are considered sweep ups, because we know people don't check their marketing emails every day, and we want to get people back into the loop of being considered potentially to open up the email from us, so that we're making sure that we keep, to a certain extent, the inboxes, the emails coming to you so that you can see them when it's right for you, but still not overloading you. So it's just taking that into account to make sure that the answer isn't only more email, because that is the easy answer, but it's not the best answer from a customer perspective.
So for us, it's twofold. One is we actually moved this summer from an open rate-based model to one that looks at long-term retention. And that way, we're really looking at how does this impact you over the next month. Not opening or opening an email has less of an impact. And then we used to have what we called a cooldown period, how often we would send you certain content, used to last, I think like 6 weeks. We reduced it to 2 weeks, and that's been really effective as well. So we actually are more likely to send what feels like more repetitive content, and employees hate it. They complain all the time. They're like, why do I keep doing the same thing over and over? Like, but this is not normal people's experience, because they don't go, oh my God, I got a Pinterest email, I need to look at it right now. I would love them to, but we can all dream. And I have the same experience, right? Like there are days where I'm just like, oh, bankrupt, mark all red. Not Pinterest emails, of course, but yeah. So I think you've got to take into account, and you can't just say only opens. You've got to look at long-term impact and make sure to goal appropriately.
Awesome. Yeah, if I could add to that too, I think, it's all about trust when someone gives you their email address. So if you're always sending them something that's relevant and interesting to them, they're going to be much more likely to seek your your company or your email out in a flooded inbox. And I think that's just another argument for being very relevant.
I'll add one.
Yeah, one more over here.
Hi.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. We just came from another session that was talking about security, and that got me thinking about personalization and your very first example from Rebel about how people can click and don't have to log in, provide payment information to donate. I work for a company that deals with people's financial information, so security and people's personal information and payment, money related, obviously is very important. Do you think this technology will pass muster when it's really like being scrutinized for security?
Sure, yeah, good question. So Good Street, which was the first example, that was actually like a separate organization that I started. It was the impetus for this. That certainly would not pass the muster. So that's like 2 bit.ly links that you clicked on in the beginning. But in reality, it's not charging your card at the time. It charges you at the beginning of the month. Rebel Shop, which was the in-email shopping experience, will. And so the inbox is actually an interesting place. It's actually a lot more authenticated than people realize, because that's where all your password reset emails go. Forget phishing attacks, but that's where, if I have access to your inbox, if I'm in your inbox, reset your Amazon password and have a shopping day. Or Netflix, whatever I'm down for. And so there's a certain level of authenticity that's given in the inbox itself, and this is why you could put a token on a password reset email and make it one-time use. We've actually invested a considerable amount in making that even more robust. So if you forward an email, someone opens in New York City and then in Dubai a minute later, you're not going to be able to purchase in that email. We're going to take you through another hoop or confirm your billing zip code within the email. And so in a lot of ways, we're actually given a little bit more to work with than you are on the web.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to all these awesome panelists.
Thank you very much, all of you. This was super cool.